I need to see this. I'm a huge Joker fan. I love David Howard Thornton. Like, get me on this. And those 12 minutes were incredible from start to finish. I've got it up right now. So
Thank you.
I think we're on currently like 221,000 views. I mean, can you tell me how you're feeling about how it's gone so far since you posted that?
Yeah, I've been working so much. Just the day job is in production and
Hmm.
grip and electric, so it's I haven't had a chance to sit down and really like enjoy it and kind of figure that part out. But this is all David. He he has such a huge fan base, and he is a really incredible actor, and also to his fans, he's incredibly gracious and genuine. And I
Hmm.
think that he connects with his fans in a way that other actors probably don't. I'm sure other actors are just as kind, but he goes out of his way to connect with them on a one-on-one level, personal level, by doing like the horror conventions and meet and greets and things like that. He makes time for people. I mean, as much bandwidth as a human being can have, be to reason, to stand to reason. But I think, because of how he connects with his fan base, they're here to support him. And David did such a good job of taking all of the things that we love about the Joker from the comics and the animated and the live action. Like, he cherry picked all of the very specific things that most fans, not all fans,
Hmm.
like I, I can read the comments too. I fully understand. My eyes work in that sense. Like, I know, what people are saying. I know how divisive aspects of the choices that I made as a director, even as a writer,
Hmm.
uh, to do were like, I'm a nerd. Like, there are things
Yeah.
that I like, and I want to see when I go to a movie about one of my favorite comics. I don't want to see X, Y, or Z. And when you give me X, Y, or Z, I know you're just doing it for a cash grab, and
Yeah.
it's fan service, and it's disingenuous. But if someone checked all those boxes and gives me a few Easter eggs here and there, I am so happy as a fan. Take my money. I'm
Yeah.
in. Only because they're dedicated professionals, like Tatiana and Pedro and Cassie, our makeup team. They're really good, but I didn't have a lot of money.
Hmm.
So buying them everything that they needed, more importantly, the time, 4 hours in a makeup chair to start the day, it's not, I mean, that's standard, absolutely. Um, but did I, was I able to afford the best prosthesis? I wasn't able to get David for face casting, which is imperative within their industry. And I knew that by making those concessions, uh, it wasn't going to be, and I'm just speaking to the people that leave all the comments. Like, I'm highly aware, and
Hmm.
Tatiana's highly aware. But the thing is, we did with what we had, and I'm not making excuses. We're incredibly proud of what we
Hmm.
did. Like, and for so little and for such a tiny amount of time. A lot of the takes, I just took and move on because David nailed it. David nailed it. It was in focus. The framing was right. The lighting worked. And, a professional actor can find his light. He doesn't tilt his head down and put everything in shadow. And now we got to go again. Like, he absolutely is fully, completely aware, working through independent movies,
Hmm.
of where his light is. And as a stage actor as well, he's got a lot of experience acting on stage, and you have to find your light. It's a cliche term, but it's like,
Hmm.
you have to fully be aware of where your light is. The one thing that they need to remember is that, like, this guy has range, and I think that this has given him a great opportunity to flex his range even with a limited budget. And so the question should be, what many people have already pointed out in the comments on our YouTube video is, what if these guys had more time? What if these guys had more money?
So when you're sort of creating this project, when you were sort of in there in the writing room, putting this all together, was it writing this and then going to David, or was it I want to put this around David?
That's a good question. No, I definitely built the house around David. I I watched his monologues. I watched his work with Nightwing Escalation
Hmm.
just to see how he moved, and was immediately impressed. I think they accomplished a lot, and I wanted to see what I could do to add to that, because if it's already out there in the universe 10 years ago, well, then maybe some executive or casting director has already considered the option of using David for this, but I wanted to offer like another take on it. And he's the horror guy right now.
Hmm.
He
Hmm.
is this generation's Freddy Krueger. He's this generation's Jason. Like, we've got David, and he's representing very well. And I don't think it's going to stop. Like, I really think that the endless cameos. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a scary movie coming out that is
Hmm.
going to feature an Art the Clown spoof. Like,
Hmm.
um, and I love that.
With sort of like the writing process behind it, obviously we know that like the Joker is a character beyond all rhyme and reason. And how did you express that insanity sort of to the audience? Did sort of David have like a factor in it, or was it all you? Like, I know how much he, like, I've seen bits and clips and stuff about how much he really wanted to play the Joker. Like, did he have any part in saying like in the writing process at all?
Yeah, he initially he was like, "Look, I have monologues memorized from Death in the Family, from the Killing Joke. He has entire monologues memorized that he has performed. You can find those videos on YouTube also, that he performed theatrically live and in costume. Like, again, there's no more passionate Joker fan. It's also doing the work. It's one thing to just dress up and play around in the mirror, but he's doing the work. He's a tremendously gifted person with a lot of range, and he takes notes incredibly well. Like, that's the thing. I never met David until the day of shooting.
Wow.
He was in it immediately when he saw himself being built in the mirror, when he got up, like when he started moving around and flexing a little bit. He was it. He was the Joker. It was kind of an incredible transformation. But as far as the writing process, yes, David was very specific. I think he trusted me a lot more than maybe he even should have, because just because someone wants to do a makeup test and then turn that into a short film, that's an incredible jump.
In terms of like when you were talking about focusing on him, and what was like what was the scariest part or the most sort of daunting part, if you will, about exploring this character on this sort of level in sort of more of a gruesome way? Like, what was that like for you?
For me, I the fanboy in the back of my mind
Hmm.
was just screaming, "Don't screw this up!" Like, like don't do what you yourself would hate someone else to do to the characters you love. And like, and are the choices that I'm making going to offend young me, uh, or am I going to try and inject too much of an artsy fartsy impression uh, uh, into this, or is it going to be metered? And then at one point, I just had to like stop with the self doubt and just go, because there was just no time to sit there and whimper. Uh, I really, I mean, I'm as self conscious as anybody else. Like, I hear the critics, I read I
Hmm.
shouldn't. Everyone told me, stay out of the comments, and I was just like, wow, is it that bad? And yeah, it's not. 97.7 people, I have the metrics, literally loved it, and the other 2.3 are in living rent free in my head, because it's just like, yeah, these are the self doubts that I had while I was making it. Like, it's just not a purple suit, but I don't think a man in a purple suit with tails would walk into a bar to find uh, henchmen, and everyone would just spring out of their seats and set their beers down and follow him into a gunfight
Hmm.
against the number one hero in Gotham. I don't buy it.
Yeah.
In my mind, he's got to look the part of a criminal element in 1980s, and that is edgy. It's studded leather jacket. It's a biker. It's nasty.
In this process, was there anything that sort of didn't make the cut, or did you sort of, spoiler alert, want to go down to that route of that final scene, which I love that final scene where he's talking about, he didn't want to spill his guts, so I guess I'll do it for him. Was that sort of the destined sort of outcome for that scene, or was there anything that didn't make it, or was there another route that you wanted to go down for that?
No, that's where I wanted to go. I wanted to break some hearts.
I like that.
I
I like that.
mean, we all knew when we saw the crowbar. I was like, find the crowbar, frame it in, like have that the curled end of the crowbar. It's got to be there. Everyone has to. That's your Chekhov's gun. Everyone's looking for it, and they want to know. And then the crowbar joke, it all comes circling around.
Yes.
And David's amazing, and so like he knows that there are many puns and stuff that got thrown in on top of the two or three that I gave him, and then I was able to pull from several. If there was a cut that got taken out, um, it was when he pulls the IV off of his neck, and
Mhm.
he puts it in his mouth and like suckles it, and he goes,
Okay.
"You oh negative, don't be oh negative. You need to be positive."
I like
And
that.
and then he threw it aside. But if I had four versions of that, and I believe as a comedian, which is where I came up originally, is that comedy is in three, and uh, it was just a blitz of really good dad jokes, and that was the one that I chose to cut out to leave the other three, and also because of an edit issue where he's looking down, and then the cut would have had him looking up, and it was unnatural in the movement because I couldn't match it, and so there were a couple reasons I had to take that one out
Mhm.
because I love the joke, and uh, it 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 was an exceptional joke and well delivered. It's just a time issue as
Mhm.
far as the camera angle matching his head coming up when his head was coming down, and the other one it would have been too jarring. Uh, but it's just a technical thing, and then a taste thing as far as like throwing four rapid fire puns, and making people go, all right, we get it. Joker says pun. It's like, no, comedy is the rules of three. It exists in stand-up comedy. It exists in sketch. Just there's a psychological
Yeah.
aspect to, oh, that's funny. That's funnier. Oh, that's the funniest. You don't. There's no. Now
Yeah.
you're just being just kicking a dead horse.
Can you sort of tell me anything at all about what you're possibly next working on? Are you going to potentially do another sort of storyline down the DC route, or are you going to do something different?
I'm just waiting for a call. Yeah, I'm waiting for a call. I've been in Los Angeles since 2018,
Mhm.
just working on set, learning, talking to producers, and just absorbing it all. And we have a slate of films, several horror films, um, and comedies. We've got like six television pilots, and it's just a matter of getting the right person to see them and
Yeah.
take them seriously for 5 seconds.
Mhm.
And but there are so many voices here. You're shouting into a massive void of talent,
Mhm.
and came here to write comedy. And I don't know how I ended down this path. Um, if you'd asked me a year and a half ago, are you going to direct? I would have said no.
Wow.
But because it's an incredible, there's a ton of responsibility. If everyone's going to laugh, they're not going to laugh at the editor. They're going
Yeah.
to laugh at the director for signing off on the edit. Like the buck stops there. And but I finally reached a level of annoyance at watching people get a shot when they didn't really deserve it or want it or take it seriously enough. And I thought, if I'm going to do it, I am going to put everything into it and make it as good as it can be for whatever I have to put into it. And I'll see if I enjoy it or not. Because if I don't enjoy it, I'm 47 years old. If I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to do it. I've already lived that part of my 20s and 30s working a job I hated,
Mhm.
and and it turned out to be something I really liked, Craig. Like it's something I definitely want to do, but I want to do it my way.
Yeah.
And with independent film, you can control that a little bit more. you're
Hmm.
always going to have people say, well, I can distribute in 6 more territories if you had done this and this and use this person or that person. It's like, well, cool, I didn't. So do you want the movie or not? Like, you want to distribute it, or am I going to throw it on the internet for free? Because that's what I did. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't want people to tell me how to do this. I want to make the movie. I trust
Oh,
my
definitely.
taste, and then put it out there. And I think that's that's art, isn't it? Like, I'm supposed to draw the painting and hang it on the wall, and then you judge me. Like, and that's it. I'm not taking it off the wall.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you two very quick fire questions. If you could sort of direct any villain, take out the Joker, if you can direct any villain, who would you want to and why?
Kingpin, yeah, I would try Kingpin. I mean, but
Okay. Okay.
I like anti-villains. I do enjoy things um and the anti-hero. Like, I like that blurred line.
Yeah.
So the Punisher, uh, without a doubt, like, yeah, he's a hero, but is he? I mean, like, a hero doesn't
Yeah.
typically have a body count. Uh, and it's only Kingpin because it's modern day. Can I elaborate on that for 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Because that's an animal that exists within our purview, uh, that can be reality. Wearing a suit, having a face, you can recognize him, and he
Oh, yeah.
washes away in a crowd full of other suits, but does the most villainous of things behind the scene. And I think that kind of where
I
we
like
are
that.
as a country right now, like, fill in the gap.
Yeah.
Those are the worst villains. I had to wait until this morning to find out, and I open it up, and the artwork is not conventional. Like, it doesn't fit number 3 and number 5. And I'm sitting there looking at this comic, and my heart's kind of sinking. I'm just like, I know this is a Wolverine comic, but and my mom's like, is that not the one you wanted? And so of course I'm like, oh no, this is number 4. You got it. Yay. Perfect. But the nerd in me is just like, this isn't it. I've seen the cover. This isn't the one. What is this? And so immediately I go to Wizard Magazine, and I'm looking it up, and that is the moment that I realized that predating my series was a Wolverine 1 through 4, and this was from that. Like, this is far more valuable than the one. Uh,
Wow.
and now I've got to find 1 through 3. So now I've got an even bigger
I
issue.
want another mission.
And so it was it was the best gift ever. My mom, who, well, she was a very good artist, uh, as well. I miss her, so much. She definitely fed my desire to see art, to read art, to um, she she tolerated my fascination with comics, and for what it was, for literature, in that sense, a visual medium. And so I think she wanted to encourage that. It's just financially not easy for parents, in our situation,
Yeah.
to gift that kind of hobby and to feed that. So there was a lot of lawn mowing, a lot of weed pulling, a lot of going and
Yeah.
painting the barn at the neighbor's place. Like, there's, in order to fund those comics and to rent those video games, man. Being a nerd ain't easy.
Oh,
It's
it's
not cheap.
not. It's not. It doesn't come cheap.
It doesn't come cheap. We bleed for the things we want.
We really
But
do. We really
but
do. No,
so
thank you for sharing that.
yeah. So my villain,
That's a really
if
great
it had
memory.
to be a comic villain, it would be General Meltdown from Havoc. I'm trying to manifest this. Um, it'd be General Meltdown. No one's ever heard of him. I don't blame them. But Havoc versus Wolverine Meltdown is one of the most visually perfect comics that I own. That if you took all the words out, you're feeling an emotion as you look at the pictures. It's been a lot of fun, Craig. I really appreciate you.
No, I really appreciate it. I mean, this is my first interview of someone and part of our team, and I really value your time and you discussing your process and the memories of comic books with your mum. I mean, I value that so much, and I mean, this film was fantastic, and I loved
Thank
it, and I hope it gets all the success, and I wish you all the success because yeah, that was great.
No, I have good friends, and I'm fortunate at how talented they are as artists. Annie Williams, and Cassie White and Tyler Hart, my gaffer,
Mm.
and Chris Vaughn, my cinematographer. Like you just, yeah, it's your producing partners, Hunter and Vanessa, and it's just if you can surround yourself with good people that are headed in the same direction, like all ships rise, everybody elevates. There's no one that's going to get left behind in a project like this, and that's all thanks to David for wanting to give somebody he owes nothing to a chance to direct him and to
Yeah.
go on a journey with him, and that says a lot to his grace and its potential too. I think it would be incredibly foolish manifesting this. It would be incredibly foolish for someone to not take David and give him a shot at something. But there's room
Yeah.
for a limited series. There's room for
100%.
some that they can't say like, oh, you're not going to belong in my universe as this. It's like, okay, well, make another one.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
fans, the
Matt
fans
Reeves
want
made another
this.
one.
Yeah, it's like okay,
Yeah.
it's not a well that's going to run out of water. Not in this instance. Like our
No.
imaginations are endless, and so I mean, just some of the comics, yeah, the comment thread, people are putting out amazing, plausible plot lines for what could happen after our little movie, and that is so exciting
Yeah.
because people are making fan art, which I never even considered. I never considered. I don't know if that's silly or naive or anything like that, but it meant enough to someone to sit down and use limited art supplies and make something that didn't exist just based on something that didn't exist that we made. It's almost like a creative virus,
Yeah.
and that I think if my mom uh, yeah, I think if my mom was alive, I think she would really appreciate that. I'm sorry.
No, 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 not be sorry at all. I mean, I think everything that you and your team and David have done with this, and all the success that you've got in terms of comments and fan art, I think it's so worthwhile because I think for me as a fan of like the Joker and this world, I think what you've done with it is you've taken it to a new height where it should have been explored a long time ago. And I think what you've done is done that and it's paid off and it's worked so effectively and well. And I mean, all I can say is thank you because yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
Oh, thank yeah, thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate
Yeah,
it. Thank
appreciate you.
you. Take care.
Take care.